when we think about the Arctic as a region and the retreat of the sea ice, we see new shipping routes. I mean, there's some people very happy about that. We also see this sort of completely, it's like a loss of a polar ice cap. And what impact does that have on the region? But how does that connect to the lower latitudes? So, where we are, for instance, or lower.
Well, with there is this feeling amongst some powerful people that it's a good thing for the ice to disappear because of Arctic shipping and Arctic oil exploration. And one of the most spectacularly incoherent speeches about this was done by Mike Pompeo, the Secretary of State in the US, to the Arctic Council in April. And the Arctic Council is a group of the 8 countries that have territory in the Arctic, and it's a kind of loose organisation of mainly of well-meaning scientists and bureaucrats who agree on good things that should be done in the Arctic, like how you divide up search and rescue in case you have accidents, how to regulate oil drilling for safety. Some minor but useful things. So he went along to the Arctic Council and completely blundered around like an elephant, saying first of all that he thought it was great that there was an increased trade across the Arctic in shipping, but he had to warn that the Chinese were using this for military purposes. And what it was is simply that the Chinese were putting cargoes on Russian ships going through the Northern Sea route, so delivering cargoes to Europe from the Far East via Russian ship. And he thought this was outrageous, that this was terrible, and it meant that the Chinese were plotting something. And so America must respond. And then he listed all the things America was going to do in response: build more icebreakers with guns on them, have big military exercises, generally weaponize the Arctic in response to this terrible threat from China, which simply consisted of sending cargo through the Northern Sea route. But it does mean bigger attention being paid to the Arctic on the part of the power brokers. He also made a very weird addition to his speech, where he said that the first people, he comes from Nebraska, so he said the first people to get to the North Pole were Americans from Nebraska, and in the 1960s, and they got there on snow plows. And so you can imagine driving a snow plow to the North Pole. It was a group of people on snowmobiles, but he didn't know the difference between snowmobile and a snowplow, despite being advised by the entire intellectual strength of the US State Department. So he's a kind of joke, and all the people at the meeting were kind of laughing behind their hands. But he's a seriously dangerous joke, because the bulletin or the report that the Arctic Council produced, he insisted there should be no mention of climate change in it. So they didn't produce a report at all in protest. So that's the sort of thing where some people are viewing the loss of ice as an opportunity in that, and that's how he's viewing it in his sort of clunky way.